Wednesday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. Mac, it is a very special episode for many, many, many reasons. We're doing a mailbag episode. We're very excited about these questions. We're just going to kind of get to chat and break it all down and have some fun. But also, if you're watching on YouTube, you see some of our new swag. And shout out to Roback, our new partner. They have sent about half of the swag bag. The rest of it is on its way. But I am obsessed with this quarter zip. It is so soft. The women's quarter zips are just awesome. I love this color. I will probably be ordering, 4 to 7 more of these quarter zips back. And I know you are enjoying your sweatshirt and the different things that Roback sent you.
No question. It's fun. It's good to know that this is going to become the Manning cast of the podcast world with the quarter zip.
Just these Q zips right here.
Yeah, and donning. So that's good to know. Good to prepare everyone to get ready for that. I love it. This is kind of like a athletic kind of feel, kind of dry, moisture wicking, kind of hoodie, very light, very stretchy. Very flexible, which we love. Worked out in it today in the gym right over here, and it held up. It did great. So I love this. I've never had anything Roback before, so this is a whole new world for your boy, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. So excited to get the more stuff that comes in. We'll be sharing that with you guys everywhere on social media, and of course here you'll see us wearing it from time to time and continuing to push and support there. So we want to hook you guys up too, though. So some great savings. There's sales going on right now. You can add to that by using our code GMPOD. Load up. The sales they're doing right now will get you about to the 1st of December, maybe December 3rd. And then our code is still there. So you can use that throughout all your Christmas shopping. Load up and get some good stuff. And we'll continue to review this as it comes in. We'll let you know what's great, what we love, and some of our favorites from Roback. So be sure to check that out.
Can't wait, Mac. And even when you use the current sale, put our code in because it'll get you even more money off. And use our code when you're doing Black Friday stuff too, because it'll get you even more money off. And Mac, I'm obviously shopping for myself, but they also have, they call them, I think, Lil polos. They have little 2T polos, so Jacob's gonna be swagged out. School. Yeah, he can't wait.
You know what I saw yesterday? I was just browsing around. I saw this polo with it was called the Ridgeback. So that's their logo, a Rhodesian Ridgeback. And so Sam, my dog, who you guys used to hear all the time, she's gotten much better at the barking. She has a little Rhodesian Ridgeback in her. So there's a polo with a step and repeat Ridgeback. I can't wait to get that. I can't wait. It looks just like Sam. It's perfect. So I will be getting that. You hook up your kiddo. I'm going to be selfish and get doggy prints for myself.
This was absolutely meant to be. That's great to hear, Eric, and I love that. Mac, before we get into this mailbag, it is about to be turkey time. And I know this is Mac's Super Bowl, really, when it comes to Thanksgiving. I am hosting Thanksgiving this year, so got a lot going on. Feeling the pressure a bit, starting to get to me. I got to make sure I stay focused, stay locked in, kind of like SMU, got to stay locked in. So let's get to a quick message here from Ingles, Mac, and then we're going to dive into our mailbag.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Okay, Mac, let's get into these questions. Shout out to everybody who sent in questions for our mailbag. We're going to do mailbag this week, normal Friday episode previewing all the games. And then next week, we're going to have some special guests talking all these rivalry games. And of course, talking even games that aren't classic rivalries, but, SMU trying to clinch, Miami, Syracuse, all that stuff too. So Mac, let's just get into some of these questions here because we had some good ones, some playoff related stuff. Let's start here at Terror Dome Squad, which, I love some of these names. Why are ACC teams disrespected? SMU's body of work, beating 2 ranked teams, a top 5 team in the Big 12, and only having 1 loss to a quality ranked opponent is getting little credit. Stop the preseason ranking bias that allows the SEC to unjustly start ahead. Mac, I'll throw this one to you first. Why are ACC teams disrespected?
That is a great question. I don't know. I've been fighting this battle for 6 football seasons, and we try our best. We really do. Ultimately, to take a kind of big picture look at it, I don't think there's any question that when you go to certain teams, areas, games, stadiums in the SEC, there's a big difference, right? And those people, hey, they love their football. That's all they got is their football. The unfortunateness and also the greatest attribute but greatest weakness of the ACC is, man, we're in big cities and we're in highly populated areas and a lot of private schools, a lot of very good schools and education and things of that nature. And so it is just different. As much as that pains me, it used to hurt me a lot more, but I get it. I've been enough places now where that part is different. Now, does that necessarily translate to the field? Not always. Not a majority of the time. When you look and you see, okay, the ACC last year, what they do against the SEC, winning record. What they do against the Big Ten, winning record. And so there's things of that nature where it is kind of annoying that just because there's an X team that has the logo of a conference on their chest, they get more of a benefit of the doubt than others. When we know it's just a handful of teams that have been carrying that, and for a while it was just one team that was carrying that torch, just like there was in the ACC with Clemson, and Alabama and the SEC. So, I think that the biggest thing is there was, like a decade and a half where it was just SEC teams winning national championships. And that takes time, and that's proven results. And you had Florida in there, Alabama in there, Auburn in there, LSU in there, where that's just what was happening. Nobody else could get in. Those guys were making it happen. And then Georgia comes along and does their thing. So, it takes time. And if you want to change that, you have to win, and you have to win convincingly, and you have to win over time. It's not just any singular season that's going to make this big cosmic shift. It's going to be a thing that happens, and you have to have consistency with a handful of brands that want to be all in and go do it. And that'll be interesting to me, KG. Can that happen with an SMU, with a Miami, with a Clemson getting back? And then who else is it? Is it Florida State at a constant place? Is it Louisville? Is it NC State? Is it Virginia Tech? Who knows? Please, somebody to be at that mainstay. Maybe Georgia Tech. They're trending really well right now. So who knows? I think there's some good options, but it can't just be 1 year 13-0, and then the next year 1-9. That can't happen. Like, it cannot be the thing. And so that's kind of my biggest deal with it.
I agree with all that, Mac. I think there's so many ways we could go here. I do think the ACC is hurt this year by Florida State's ineptness.
For sure.
There's no doubt about it. Your reigning champion, the team that was a preseason team.
Do you think we could, Graham and McLean could get a lawsuit? Okay. Like, our viewership has been affected.
Yeah, maybe we should. We know some lawyers. I think that's been a big part of it. And then the other part of this, because this question was a little bit about SMU, and we have some other SMU questions. I think what makes SMU fans so annoyed with this is if Clemson had the same resume, they'd be in the top 12. Like, I think that's just true. Miami
Probably
is.
More than that.
Yeah, Miami is, right? So, and with a worse loss, I mean, BYU right now looks like a really good loss. So overall, that hurts you. And then this is a weird way to look at it, but because the ACC is so big now, SMU, with no fault of their own, they got a pretty lackluster ACC schedule in terms of strength of schedule. They just didn't.
Which we were saying at the beginning of the year, which is crazy.
Yeah, but some of those teams have really disappointed because, well, you didn't get Miami, you didn't get Clemson, you didn't even get like a brand like a Virginia Tech. You didn't get these types of teams where you could win and kind of prove yourself. You don't play Georgia Tech, which is a team that looks good. You don't play Syracuse. So all of that, you do play Louisville, but that's kind of about it. So when you look at the numbers, Mac, SMU's strength of schedule nationally is 86th, which is pretty low. Now, I think one thing SMU specifically needs to do, you cannot schedule Nevada and Houston Christian. One of those has to go. You can play Houston Christian, play your FCS, but you got to schedule someone else. And I mean, that's going to come, right? I know it's hard to figure out your schedule when you're transitioning to a new league, but playing TCU was good. Playing BYU was good. Like, that was good. But because where would your schedule be without playing like BYU?
Right.
But you got to schedule someone else. And I know that's easier said than done. The third thing I want to add here, Mac, is I think the ACC needs to take, and maybe it's on us, Mac, to do this, needs to push this narrative because it's true that without a doubt, the ACC is the third best league. It's not even close compared to the Big 12. And here's my data to back that up. The hardest strength of schedule in the Big 12 this year nationally is Kansas State at 41st. There are 6 ACC teams with harder schedules than the Big 12's hardest schedule. That's Florida State,
Right.
Stanford, Louisville, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. So I think that would really help your narrative because look, going up, trying to say you're better than the SEC or the Big 10, which don't even get me started there. It's an uphill climb. Like a lot of people's minds are already made up. So you need to say, okay, if the SEC is getting 4 spots and the Big 10's getting 3, which is crazy, the ACC deserves at least 2 because they are the third
Right.
best league. I think you have to kind of go at it from that approach.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. And when you see that and you see the, just the quality of the teams, the quality of the brands that are in this league, it is not even close. And I know a lot of people want to pin them together and put them in that quad, but it's not. It really isn't. And again, when you look at results and you look at, other things like that, I think there is a fight, for that second spot. It's just about consistency. And obviously the additions that the Big Ten made were tremendous. I mean, Oregon, number 1 team in the country. That looks fantastic right now.
Oregon
and the things you're
helps.
able to do.
The other ones are brand only. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
exactly.
the addition of Southern Cal, UCLA. The reason Penn State is like top 7 or whatever they are is because they won at Southern Cal. Like, what are we doing? I know they're Southern Cal, but they're not good. So don't get me started there. The brands matter. Yeah. We're going to get into that too. That's a big part of this. And I think SMU in a lot of ways is having to rebuild their brand, right? So SMU has to
there's no doubt about that.
Put together good seasons and continue to put themselves on the map.
Yeah, which again, it takes time. It takes time. And we have spoken about, SMU in the future and what they can be or will be ad nauseum. I mean, I think that this is a sleeping giant. I think, quite honestly, that giant's rolling around, waking up, like our kids in the cribs from that time, they're ready to get out. And it's just, honestly, it's one of those things, KG, where I think that it's already done. Now, certainly winning a championship and getting into a playoff will put that into the left lane, hammer down. But I think they're already there. I think the commitment, the recommitment that they're going to get from boosters, supporters, how do we make it bigger? How do we make it better? Like those wheels are probably already churning. And a great point that you brought up is going to be scheduling. And now they certainly got a major boost with that, with having Notre Dame on the schedule, I believe next year. I think that's happening next year. So already a great job there, having that brand. Who knows how good or not good they're going to be. There's a big influx of, talent probably leaving there.
But it's always the brand aspect with playing Notre Dame. You're going to get credit for it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I think that's a great start. It'll be fun to see what follows after that in regards to amenities, facilities, which they've already knocked out of the park, additions to the stadium, things of that nature, and of course, flooding NIL and going and getting even better players.
Yeah. Money isn't the problem. And that's a great thing for SMU because other schools can't necessarily say that. Mike, let's get to our next question from Perunus_burner. This guy. This is another SMU question.
Is that the SMU mascot? Peruna?
Oh, I did not know that. So Peruna's burner. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Eric McLean.
Thanks for getting
Good job. Good job. Good job. Okay, let's say the Ponies make the ACC title game and lose to Miami, likely missing an at-large college football playoff bid. Do you think next year we'll face the same respect issues? I think part of our issue is year one in the Power Four maybe turns perception. I'll just start by saying this, Matt, because I think that the respect issues, like we said, you kind of have to build that respect. I think Clemson really had to do that, right? Build up the respect after a lot of years of not being great. SMU didn't receive a single vote in the preseason AP poll or coaches poll. So for better or worse, college football, a lot matters with those first polls. Another question alluded to that. So when you don't receive any votes, it's really hard to just shoot up into that top 10. But I guarantee you, even if SMU, which this won't happen, but I'm just saying, if SMU were to lose the rest of their games they will receive some votes in next year's preseason poll. They will probably most likely be ranked. And of course, if they win the ACC, make the playoff, they will probably start the next year top 10. And that's going to help you so much. It's not fair, but that is a reality. So I think that will help a lot. And you'll know names, right? Rhett Lashley's becoming more of a name. You've got Nick Saban talking about Kevin Jennings on game day. Like, that's going to really help. Knowing names will help too.
There's no doubt about it. You have the two most important things, and sometimes there's three when you throw a coordinator in there, but you've got your coach that, for everything we know, will be back. You've got your quarterback, for everything that we know, will be back. That is dramatic. That is huge. You got Nick Saban doing breakdowns on game day, talking about how great this young man is. We've been doing it since week 3, but I understand that's a little bit of a bigger program there. I get it. But it's one of those things where those two alone are going to big time energize the hype and the excitement and the what if, what this team can look like. Now, the interesting thing is, as I'm just kind of looking at this depth chart, and you never know, like I don't know who's really what they say on these websites, how many years they have, how many years they don't. There is a lot of seniors and a lot of grads throughout this roster. So this could be a very different looking team from the offensive line, from the defensive line, secondary, some skill position spots. So, from that aspect, there might be some opportunity. Like I kind of said, go out and get some guys. But overall, big picture, to answer the question, I think, as you stated, there's going to be a lot of hype and a lot of excitement. And we'll see where they finish. We'll see what happens. I will not be shocked at all to see SMU square in the top 12 to start the year with the AP poll next season.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just looking at future schedules. By the way, Mac, I think Notre Dame is 2026 because I don't see them on the 2025 schedule. But as we said, the ACC kind of gave you an easy schedule. Next year, you draw Clemson, you draw Louisville, you draw Miami. That is going to help you a lot. You have Baylor in there as a non-con. I think that's fine. You're at TCU. You're always going to play TCU. Missouri State, I honestly don't know anything about them. But you add Miami and Clemson to the schedule next year. So the schedule next year shapes up to be a lot better and something that I think you can really make some noise with, Mac.
Gets people excited, That's what we want to see.
Yeah, and for lack of this is a terrible pun, but the Pony Express will be leaving the station early. Like the hype will be there. You'll be able to get the hype going, which is big in this college football world.
Every time I think of the Pony Express, whether it's a Mustang convertible or like a train, whichever way you look at it, I just envision our dear friend Bill Armstrong, one hand on the wheel, rally hat flying around, and just hammering it down as the driver. That's what I envision.
I think that's what you should envision, Mac. I agree. Okay, let's get to this next question here, Mac. At Pepe Silvia Senior 1 says, what can the ACC do to position itself to get more teams in the playoff in the future? Again, I think that goes back to what I said about, I think you have to really push the narrative that you are the third best league. You're better than the Big 12 because you are in all these different metrics. And then we talk about this all the time, Mac. You have to win some of these outer conference games, especially against these good SEC teams. When you're beating the bad SEC teams, yes, that's good. Like when Miami beats Florida, even though Florida has started to look better, or most years when Clemson has beaten South Carolina, it doesn't help you as much. Now, the games this year, Mac, that I think specifically killed you, Clemson, Georgia, because Clemson looked so bad. I thought Vandy, Virginia Tech hurt you, even though Vandy has ended up being a decent team. That win would have gone a long way. And then the game that I think absolutely killed you was NC State, Tennessee. That game was embarrassing. Like NC State didn't even look like they belonged in the same stratosphere as Tennessee. So, and Tennessee's good, but like, don't get beat by 40. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm talking about. And then you and I always say this, the brands have to be good. Florida State being down is worst case scenario for the ACC. And so Florida State's got to find a way back. Like that's just, I think we all agree that has to happen. I don't know exactly how it happens, but it has to happen.
Right. Yeah, I was going to kind of hit that very similarly. A couple of those different points is, when you look at, I just have pulled up here the standings on ESPN, and it's strictly by conference wins. This is the order, that these people are in. Florida State, 17 out of 17. NC State, 13 out of 17. Virginia Tech, 11 out of 17. Those were three teams that preseason we were discussing probably maybe can be in this playoff.
Yeah.
NC State, the basement, I said, was 10 wins. Ruined that. Florida State, we were a little iffy about. We certainly weren't sitting there saying they'd be 1-9. And Virginia Tech, we thought the schedule works out. If you win, maybe you're fighting for a dark horse spot in Charlotte. And so you're looking at all of that, and it was absolutely worst case scenario. Those teams don't do anything, because what also hurts, you talk about perception and you talk about hype and SMU for next year and things of that nature. We had people beating the drum for those three teams out and about on SiriusXM, on ESPN, on all these different things.
On Graham and Mac Lane.
When that falls flat, that is that hurts the perception of the league. That tells everybody that, oh, well, these are three of the teams that they thought were going to be really, really good. They stink. The league stinks. And it's as obviously as we know, that's not what happens, but that's a big deal. And that, I think, put us really behind the 8 ball to start. Now, other teams started getting really good traction. SMU started getting really good traction. Miami never left. I mean, they took off, from Jump Street there. Pittsburgh got some excitement. And, Clemson kind of fell down, fighting again right now. So, for me, it takes exactly what you said. When you have those out-of-conference opportunities, specifically against the SEC, but against anybody, you have to fly the flag accordingly. And that doesn't always, to me, mean win. But as you just pointed out with NC State, do not get housed. You can't do that, because we lose all credibility, always. Even if Clemson does the exact same thing to NC State's and actually scores more points, it doesn't matter. It's looked at so differently. So that's kind of my biggest thing. The second one that I kind of just mentioned there, the brands have to be the brands. Brands matter. Brands get people excited. Brands are like, oh, yeah, this team's good. Like, they're great. They should be. So you can't have Florida State at the bottom of the barrel, NC State towards the bottom, and Virginia Tech. That's just if we want to be successful as a program, if we want to be successful as a conference, those three have to carry more weight. They can't be where they are.
I heard no lies. Okay, Mac, let's get to our next question here. We've got just a few more left. Because I'm messing these names up, at Mir Day Rouses.
I'm so glad that you have to do this and not me. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna go
Mir, if you're listening, sorry, but I was confused by that one too. It looks great though. That was good.
Okay, cool. But good question. Do Clemson and Louisville winning their SEC non-con games at the end of the season bolster the hopes of an ACC at large in general? You want to take this one, Matt? Go ahead. You start.
Sure. I would say, just for the purpose of the league, because Louisville clearly is not getting in anywhere near that thing. I think, if they beat Kentucky, who's what they started pretty strong, but maybe it fell a little bit flat. You're still perception wise.
They're 4-6 and 1-6 in the SEC. Yeah,
right. I think that further about. Gosh, if Louisville doesn't beat them, KG, I've been talking about this for 6 years.
I know.
Like, just beat them. The answer is yes. The second part of the answer I'm not even going to spend any more time on it with them. Just do it. The other part with Clemson, I still think Clemson's in. I know I'm a homer. I know I get all of that. But if you beat who I think, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, the hottest team in the country right now, probably South Carolina, if you beat them and you're sitting there at 10-2 or whatever it'll end up being, 9-2, 10-2. Why not? I think they still have a great shot at making it at an at-large bid. Maybe it's 10-11, but you're in and you're making something happen and you're able to get healthy, and who knows what you can do. When Clemson is on and they're playing at a high level and they're in that mode, they are great. They look fantastic. It's just there's been too many inconsistencies for me. How much can they get it together this week against Citadel, which we'll talk about more Friday. And then, of course, in a rivalry game at noon, which sucks, by the way.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Happy for some people. Some people are probably happy about it. Babies, things of that nature. I get it. Not me, selfishly. But, if you take care of business there, I think you square there in the race and are still fighting for one of those bids.
I think you're in the race. You probably need some other teams to lose. You probably need like
Definitely need help.
Colorado
Definitely
to
need
fall apart. You need Texas A&M
Right.
to fall apart. Teams like that. And who knows, if you end up right, if Miami loses, then maybe you're in the ACC title, and that's a whole other situation. I think Clemson, South Carolina is really important for the perception. I think Louisville, Kentucky is, because Kentucky's just having a bad year. So, like, you need to go beat them. Weirdly, Mac, Florida State's not beating Florida, but obviously that would be huge. Georgia Tech, to me, is very interesting. Now, if Georgia Tech beats Georgia, then game changer, right? But if they can make it a very good game, I think that really helps because Georgia Tech beat Miami. So that would help in terms of perception, all that. And frankly, Georgia Tech's a good team. Like, we've been saying that. I'm shaking my computer. We've been saying that for a long time. I think this Georgia Tech team is a very good team. They have played the 24th toughest schedule in the country, as we talked about earlier. So I almost wonder if, Louisville, Kentucky is big. Louisville needs to win. But I almost wonder if Georgia Tech, Georgia is the more important. Clemson, South Carolina is obviously maybe the most. But is Georgia Tech, Georgia almost more interesting, Mac?
Right. Well, certainly I think it's not more interesting for me, obviously, or you. I understand that. But it's one of those things where Georgia Tech has played significantly better at Georgia, which is weird.
Yeah, weird.
Super, super weird. And if Haynes King is back fully healthy, if Jamal Haynes is back healthy, and if they are able in any form or fashion to replicate the offensive game plan of keep away like they were against Miami, which again, I think are two different things. Georgia's defense, maybe not where it normally is, but still light years ahead of Miami. Who knows? Could be weird. Could be really fun. So we'll see about that. But I'm with you. I'm on that same page.
Could be very weird. But those games are always super fun, super interesting, and massive for the ACC every year. Okay, Mac, let's get to two more questions here. At Blue Devil in Hugh, H-O-U, which I assume is Blue Devil in Houston, which is cool. For those of us who aren't on Twitter anymore, he got this in on Instagram. What ACC team do you believe has exceeded expectations the most this season? There's so many options here, Mac. I think in the end it's SMU because I don't think anyone thought they'd win the league, which they're, if all things go as we think they will. Of course, they'll be in the ACC title game at least. And then I have to go Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's win total was 4? We've talked about that many times. And they're jumping into the top 25 and all that. And then, this obviously is a Duke fan. I think Duke has exceeded expectations. But I think Duke has also played a really, really nice schedule. So there's that part of it. And then even a team like Syracuse 7-3. So those are the ones I'd throw out there. Who did I miss?
I'm gonna pull up Duke's schedule right here because I don't know if you're giving enough credit. I think it's actually a pretty hard schedule.
Their non-con, Mac. Their non-con was very easy.
Well, sure.
But I think that's part of it. Where is let's see where their strength of schedule is. That's one. They were not above. They were not in the top 40. I'll tell you that because that's what I looked
for
at.
Sure.
They were not there.
I think to hammer down on SMU, I don't see how that's not the right answer. Just what they've been able to do, how they've done it, throughout this entire thing has been really impressive to me. The jump, how quickly they've kind of gotten to where they are. Duke's strength of schedule, 64.
Yeah.
Not a little bit above middle of the pack. I thought it was a little more than that.
Tougher than Western Kentucky. Easier than Marshall. And that's the non-con. Duke's non-con was a bunch of cupcakes. That is so it just was.
How about their strength of record? Is the strength of record better? Let me hit that real quick.
Let's see. Where's their
I'm doing everything I can to fight for this right here.
I know you are.
34. Strength of record, 34. Fantastic. So they're doing great. And then Pittsburgh and Duke they can pass them because if Duke has a chance here, KG, to win 10 games, that would be unbelievable in Manny Diaz's first deal here, which is very, very attainable. We'll be there this weekend. Can't wait. Yeah. And then just to see what they're able to do would be fantastic. So we'll find out. I think that's definitely the 3. Those are the 3 that get you really excited about the potential future and what could it look like and what moving forward, who's going to be standing out.
Agreed. Okay, before we get to a Clemson, South Carolina question, we just wanted to do this for fun. So, because the team that exceeded expectations got me thinking about coach of the year. So let's talk coach of the year and players of the year. I feel like this isn't even close. I feel like the coach of the year is Rhett Lashley. Is there a debate? Is there a debate?
You're right. Probably when they lost to Georgia Tech, Miami's probably out of it. You're
Yeah.
right. It probably is. It probably is.
I mean,
But
I think
again, if Duke wins 10 games, if they win 10 games, who knows? You're right, though. I think it's Rhett, and then kind of everyone else falls at the wayside there.
I'd put Cristobal probably second. And then maybe you're talking like Manny Diaz or the Nardoos. It depends how Pitt finishes. Yeah. If they just completely, if they continue to fall apart, then probably not. Even if Fran Brown. Right. I love what Fran Brown's done. But I think it's Rhett. Okay, Mac. Yeah, I think we both agree the ACC Player of the Year is going to be Cam Ward. I'm not sure we see much of a debate there. So let's take him, which congrats, Cam Ward. Amazing year. Let's take him off the table. If you had to take him out of there, who'd be your offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year? Go ahead, Mac.
Oh, I like that. Great question. I think it's one of those things where, just to further your point there, I think if you're the overall player of the year, you should be removed from the offense or defensive side. It's most likely always offense, but let's let some other people get some trophies. Let's get some more names. Let's highlight how good a league is here. Yeah. So I think that probably second for me, or first overall for just offensive player of the year, it's hard not to go Omarion Hampton. Like that dude is a monster. 1,400 yards to date, 14 touchdowns, a freight train. I just saw him in person. He's an incredible football player. Now, you could sit here and argue some other running backs. I think Brashard Smith is also a freak and really, really good. Brashard has 100 less carries, 90 less carries than Omarion, and only 400 less yards and 2 less touchdowns. Both have the same long, and Smith's actually averaging a yard more per carry. So you have that caseload there where a little bit different. If you want to go back to quarterbacks, I think it's hard to leave Cade Klubnik out. I mean, that guy's been balling, and maybe somehow he sneaks up, on some people and finishes second there. He has a lot of touchdowns. I think he's at 31 plus right now. When you add his passing and rushing touchdowns together, it's been really, really fun just to see his progress, how he has stepped up to the plate. So those are probably my 4 there. 3 taking out Cam Ward, obviously, that I'm looking at for offensive player of the year.
Yeah, I like all of those, Mac. It's funny because we didn't talk about a receiver. I mean, I think if you're going from that regard and you're just looking at a receiver, it'd probably be Restrepo with how consistent he's been. Almost 1,000 yards. He'll get to that mark. 10 touchdowns, leads the ACC in touchdown receptions, and is on one of the best, if not when it's all said and done, the best team. So I'd probably put him in that discussion. But beyond that, I do think it's Omarion Hampton. And I know people might say, well, UNC only has 6 wins. Let's see how they finish. They could finish with 8.
Sure.
And then the other question is, where would they be without him? I mean, they'd have like 3 wins without Omarion Hampton. Dude is a monster. And then, Mac, when you look defensive, I don't know if there's really a debate here. The defensive player there's probably going to be Antoine Powell-Ryland, APR from Virginia Tech.
Maybe.
Give me some other names that could be in the discussion.
Yeah. It's so funny because when you look at these awards, there's like, what stands out the most to you? And 13 sacks is a lot. Like, that is awesome. That's an absolute monster.
With 2 games left.
He obviously, with 2 games left, APR has there and some great opportunity with Virginia at the end there, who we saw get sacked 10 times earlier this season. Could he go off again and have some astronomical numbers? So I think he surely is up there. I think Noel Williams from Cal, the safety, has 7 picks on the year. I mean, that's this dude better be an All-American. I mean, we saw Cam Kitchens a couple years ago in Miami. I believe he had 6, and he was first-team All-America. This guy better be there. And then, I think it's hard not to say, a guy like Jonas Sanker, the very talented safety, just actually committed to the Senior Bowl. So big shout out to him for that. He flies all over the field, plays a lot of different positions. And then Kobe Wilson from SMU, also a guy that flies around and makes a lot of things happen for his team. So those are kind of the guys I really expect to be there at the end of the day and win those, Player of the Year awards.
I like that, Mac. Maybe Donovan Ezaraku too, just because he has 11 sacks with 2 games
11
left.
sacks, yeah.
See what he'll end up doing, but I think it is APR. I think his numbers are really hard to ignore.
Those and they might skyrocket, like you said. They might take it to another level. It's funny, when you brought up receiver, KG, I clicked on receiving yards real quick. How about receiving yards and catches? 3 of the top 6 play for Syracuse.
Yeah,
that is insane. Sense. They are throwing the ball at a massive clip, getting these guys involved, which is fun. I mean, that's a fun offense. And when you have a guy like, Kyle McCord, which we should probably throw him in there as well, just that one blow-up game, it's probably one of the first things everyone thinks. Man, he's had a great year as well. It's been fun to watch.
Okay, 2 more questions. Let's get to these, Mac. These are kind of niche questions, if you will. From 81 Tiger Spencer. He directed this to Eric McLean. He said, and I'm just going to read the question verbatim. How good is SC, brother? I'm worried. Okay, so obviously he's talking about the Clemson Carolina game.
They're pretty good.
Mac, how good?
Here's the deal.
Brother.
I never want to give those guys credit. Trust me. I do not like them. I can't stand them. It pains us. It's what it is. It's part of it. It's the rivalry. They do the same thing. They don't like me. I get it. I understand that. But I do very much respect Shane Beamer and think he has done a great job. And he watches us. He watches this show. He watches us in the huddle. He's been on the show before.
Yeah.
I think they've done a really good job. And they, as I mentioned earlier, might be one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in America. Should have beat Alabama. And that would be 5 wins in a row flying into this rivalry game. The defensive line specifically has been nasty. I mean, those guys are getting after it, getting after the quarterback. The secondary is they're putting fear in people, picking the ball off and doing their thing there. And then you have a quarterback in Lenore Sellers who is killing it. I call him baby Cam Newton. He is big. He is strong. And he's getting more confident as a passer. So, yeah, certainly it's fun. And those guys are ranked in the country. They play Wofford this week. Clemson plays Citadel. So, of course, it's going to be a big old ranked matchup. First time in a long time. I don't remember, maybe since the last time they beat us, like back in 13 maybe. Not the last time. They did beat us in 22.
They beat us 2 years ago because I was at the game. It's my fault.
I don't remember that game because, they may or may not have extra intel and who knows, signs and things of that nature.
Allegedly.
Anyway, but yeah, the last time I said allegedly. But it's been a while, and this is cool. This is great for the state. It's going to be exciting, and we'll talk about this a lot more next week. But, I hope Clemson beats them by 90. I mean, I would do everything I could to run up the score as high as I could every single time.
Well, both teams need to do that. From a playoff perspective, like you got to win big. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a close game. I think South Carolina. This is one of the best South Carolina teams in a very long time. I think this team is actually legit. They actually have an identity. They have a quarterback, which it's been a while. Yeah. Lenore Sellers is playing better and better. It seems as weeks go on. Yeah. You mentioned South Carolina's D-line.
When you look at it legitimately, listen again. I hate to give these guys any type of credit. Legitimately, KG, they should only have one loss. I mean, that LSU game.
They should have been LSU. I was going to say that. Yeah.
Totally stolen away from them.
Brutal.
And that Bama game, just some decisions right there, going for 2, not going, whatever. Just some some interesting decisions. And you lose. It was a great game. So they're good. They're a good team.
And give credit where credit's due. They've played a hell of a schedule. They are absolutely battle tested. Definitely played a tougher schedule than Clemson. I mean, we can all admit that. But you mentioned their D-line. They are second in the SEC with 35 sacks. They get after the quarterback. Yeah. They have also given up 33 sacks. So there are some opportunities there. I think a lot of it will be Clemson's health, right? Their health on both sides of the ball. The O-line with Thurman going down, and it feels like there's just a patchwork, every week. How will the O-line be? Can you get healthy over these next 2 weeks? And then defensively, can your best guys be out there? And can you get after the quarterback? That's going to be my biggest questions, Mac, with that game. But I'm excited. I think game day should come. It annoys me that they probably won't. But, come on. I think it'll be electric.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree, obviously. And think that would be great for the state to celebrate. Because this is a very undervalued, from a national perspective, rivalry, full of hate, full of great players. And again, I know it's dominated. I know we own those guys. I get it, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. Looking at the sack thing, just for kind of record and for Clemson fans that may be interested or very worried about that, Pittsburgh has the same amount of sacks as them. It's going to be very similar game plan. Now, Cade got hit a ton, but can you learn from that? Can you get guys healthy and back? Do you have guards playing tackle? You have dudes wearing no wristbands or gloves playing guard. Who's out there and who's going to play, and just what will the game plan, really look at? You also have Virginia Tech, who's very high on that list, that you played admirably against as well in regards to sack and getting after the quarterback. So you've seen it before. It's not like it's some crazy thing, but it will be a massive key and huge part of this game and who comes out victorious, who can get to the quarterback.
For sure. And it's just such a bummer that Elijah Thurman went down because he was going to be a big part of that. All right, Mac, this was fun. Our last question, honestly, I can answer this very easily and quickly. This is from Fred Montgomery on Twitter. And this is off topic from what we're talking about, but I love it. He says, Kelly, who are the ACC favorites in women's hoops? Fred, it is not even close. Notre Dame is so dang good. They are so good. This is weird for me because we've had such tight races in the ACC in recent years. We've had 3 teams in the top 10, just all these really good teams. There are other really good teams. The ACC will still get 8, 9, 10 teams in the tournament. But Notre Dame is so good. If you're listening, if you made it this far and you're like, oh, I know Kelly, she played women's hoops, she likes women's hoops, whatever, and you haven't watched Notre Dame, Saturday, 4 p.m., NBC, Notre Dame plays Southern Cal and Juju Watkins. Just watch it.
Gosh,
just watch it.
Unbelievable.
That's all I got to say. Just watch it. Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles together, plus Kate Koval, who has been so good. Mac, she's a true freshman, and she leads the nation with 5.5 blocks per game. Just watch it. That's all I got to say. Watch the game. There you go.
It's going to be fun. I can't wait to tune into it. And we'll
have
probably have some more down the road.
Because you got football going on, but multiple screens.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. This was fun, KG. Great idea. I'm glad we did it. Thank you guys for the questions. We had to sift through some of those and get you some good product here. And great questions. Very interesting questions by everybody. So appreciate you guys participating. Appreciate you guys always, your support over on YouTube, Twitter, and social media, KG.
And Mac, we appreciate our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you use our code GMPOD to get it going this weekend. There's only a few more college football weekends left. I can't believe it. This one could be interesting, Mac, because you've got games like Clemson Citadel, right? Games where you could, I think, use that to your benefit, getting some of these picks correct. So keep an eye on the app. Make sure you use our code GMPOD. Easiest place to play fantasy sports. Mac and I will be giving our picks on Friday. And we'll, of course, see how we do. There's no guarantees, but we'll have fun doing it, Mac.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll have fun, as we always do.
We're making money this weekend. Appreciate you guys' support always. Like I said, go over to YouTube, subscribe, jump in the comments. Let us know. Do you have any other questions? Did this spark some interest? Maybe we can address those in the coming weeks there. But again, appreciate y'all's participation and making this a fun episode. We'll be back Friday. But until next time, we'll see y'all.